Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AIM Impact on Your Health. AIM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AIM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AIM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, it is a Friday version of the show, ladies and gentlemen, in its most classical sense. It is a get 'em up out of town version of the show today. I have some things that I'd like to discuss with you. You may have some things that you'd like to take up, well, not just with me, but with all of our listeners. They end up responding so well and so immediately whenever a query comes by that I have either difficulty in answering or have answered only partially. They tend to fill in the gaps. If you want to become part of the family here and you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment, the number, of course, as always, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. We are going to open them up for a Get 'em Out of Town version of the show today. I'll wait for your knock on the door, and I will let you in the store. Now, as the month is clipping along, I got to tell you, just finished yesterday in the MCG testing for the open to the public version. Yesterday, we had a number of people come in and get MCG testing. This unique device, now available since literally the month of February 2011, and very difficult to find anywhere in the western Pennsylvania area, has set a new trend in ease as well as information reflective of an individual's coronary artery status in a way. Well, it's just uncanny, folks. So easy to obtain this study. You lie in a bed for 6 minutes. The machine, the device, which is just is a computer device, is up with leads to the patient's extremities as well as the left side of the chest, and voila, 6 minutes later, 5 different tests are done, each of which lasted 82 seconds. From your perspective, not really anything to identify there in the way of even knowing that one test changed over to another, then changed over to another, and then at the end of the day, we download all this into the computer, sent off to New York, and your information is compared to a database of over 42,000 patients, all of which have certainly had the MCG test. By the way, MCG stands for multifunctional cardiogram, and although I think it's not glitzy enough title, it certainly is a multifunctional use of this device. Once off there and compared to that group, by the way, the 42,000, besides having the test, well, they had one other test that you would not ever like to have. That's called a cardiac catheterization, but these individuals are afflicted ones. They must have wound up in emergency rooms literally all over the country, and as a result of the symptoms they were having at the time, necessitated an emergency catheterization. That's usually the way caths unfold. They're not ever usually planned. They just happen by happenstance when someone is in a critical medical and dire circumstances. Anyway, with those individuals as a database to compare your results to, turns out there's a 91% accuracy in determining the status of your coronary arteries compared to those arteries, same arteries, in the 42,000 of the database, allowing this to be a very predictive value as to the status of those blood vessels. It's uncanny that this can be done through electronic wizardry. I don't know how it gets done. The job just in fact, however, it does, and it's able to set the tone for pretty the most important information, which is what to do about it and to change these numbers as time moves off into the future. I feel that's really the bonus and the benefit to the patients who avail themselves of MCG testing. This is a completely insurance-covered device, which is pretty unique around here. And so nice to see the insurances working for the patients. And the insurance companies think so much about this test that based on the scores that are revealed, one, if they have a significant amount of disease, is able to take this test every 3 months, at 3-month intervals, as we continue to track out and follow your status, which I contend will be your improving status with the plan we should be able to put into play for you in that regard. So MCG testing now relaunched. We'll be doing an open date once a month for our listeners out there. So if you weren't able to be taking a part of it this month, there'll be another date next month. I'll come up with that date, by the way, by the time next week rolls around. We get the device every other week because it's on we purchased it with an additional physician in the South Hills area. And so we split the time with the machine. Half the time the machine is here, half the time the machine is in his offices. And for that reason, I'll have to do a little bit of shuffling to figure out which week in December now will be available as an open date for you all. Now, for those out in the eastern part of the city, you should well know we kick off our relationship with you once again. We were out in Monroeville. This is a number of years ago, at least 5 years ago now. We're out in the Monroeville area literally weekly at the offices of Dr. Oliver Caminos and Med Health Services, huge building right along Moss Side Boulevard. However, things got a little hectic out there when Dr. Caminos' own needs grew so large that there was no longer room to even house me in the most limited capacity. Well, there's a new building. It's across the street from the old. It's rather large. The space constraints no longer exist, and so we're returning to the Monroeville area. We're going to be bringing MCG testing to you, and for those of you who have a geographic placement that makes this convenient for you, please feel free to give us a call. Now, schedule through us, and not with them. You're going to drive them crazy. I'm talking about Dr. Caminos' girls out there. I've already heard that a couple of you have called up out there, and they keep calling me and say, okay, what's this test again? And are we supposed to schedule it? And I say, oh, no, you're not supposed to. Don't worry about it. The call should come here. In either case, whether you want to be tested at the South Hills office, which is on Washington Road in McMurray, 3075 Washington Road, or out at the Med Health Services building on Moss Side Boulevard in Monroeville. This particular month, the kickoff is going to be on the 22nd. Coming up there in another couple of weeks, the 22nd. If you think you'd like to be a part of the MCG testing movement, give us a call here at 724-942-3002 at 724-942-3002. More on this matter. I'm they're trying to locate for me. I want to bring a cardiologist on the show. Jerry has been so nice, Jerry Singleton, to come on the show. He represents Premier Heart, the group that literally distributes the device in the Western Pennsylvania area. But I think Jerry would agree that it's time to get in some expert opinions. I'm looking forward to bringing one of the cardiologists that have worked closely with this device for a number of months to years now and get their impression on the device and allow you to listen in on a little interrogatory that we'll have with someone as a cardiologist who I would think would be information valuable in you learning about, because the fact that I believe the cardiologist is going to speak very highly of the device, and I have some interesting questions I'd like to pose to them. I want to talk to a cardiologist, I hope, who has a very good track record of actually performing cardiac catheterizations. I'd like to know if cardiac caths have been done on the patients who he has done MCG testing on, and if so, what the correlation has been. These are questions that I really can't answer myself, but I'm looking forward to getting an invasive cardiologist in the very near future, I talked to Jerry just yesterday. He is locating one for me, and I'll bring you that information. We'll do a show on it whenever we get that scheduled. So that's just about all there is to say on the HCG testing. The HCG, a lot of C's. HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, works on a trophoblastic theory that all cancers are derived from trophoblasts. And the trophoblasts are found in every single organ in the body. They're very stealthily hidden in those organs, literally undetectable. But if cancer develops, and as the Dr. John Beard theory from 1904, when he originally published this information, would promote, that once cancer develops, the trophoblastic activity allows for the production and secretion of a hormone, a very famous hormone, one known to everyone, especially all females, called the pregnancy hormone. That, of course, is HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, at very high levels, which allows the doctor to tell the patient, yes, congratulations, you are going to have a baby, and we'll calculate out when the delivery is going to be. But at the minute level, the minuscule level that this can be measured, I think, is the interesting component we brought to you through the work of Dr. Emil Shandel. He runs the American Metabolic Laboratories in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He has been a guest on our show, and we are the draw station, and I believe uniquely the only individuals in this western Pennsylvania area that act as a draw station. This is a lab that you just can't get at your local hospital. You can get the pregnancy test, but it's not sensitive enough to detect the minute quantities of HCG detectable at American Metabolic Laboratories when the claim is made that a cluster of cells as small as 12 cells, 12, can actually register with the sensitivity of the test being used and show positive, being what we believe to be the earliest possible detection of a cancer available anywhere in the entire world if you can measure HCG in a cluster of cells as small as 12. Anyway, that testing is available here. If you think you'd like to get that testing, give us a call. Come on in and get to pick up the kit first. We'll explain to you why. The urine component of this three-pronged test is one urine test, two blood tests. We'll process them and we'll send them off to Fort Lauderdale. We get the results back in a couple of weeks, and then we can actually go over those results and what they may mean with you to describe how you can take those results and apply them to your own personal situation. So, HCG testing available here. I bring that to your attention. And then finally want to mention, because we had Roland on this week, talking about the all-inclusive of supplements, the F3 of the bioengineered algae concentrates coming out of the company called BioAge in Canada, a collaboration between Roland Thomas and Dr. Michael Kiriak. We had him on the show on Monday talking once again about what an extremely interesting and unique supplement this really is, containing, I believe, all the components of a very good supplement source all wrapped up and rolled up into one. That one thing happens to be one-cell plants called algae. So they're fully assimilable and actually are organic. All those found in one item, just too good to be true. Okay, let's do this. Take a short break. When we come back, I've got some things on my plate I can get into. Do you have anything on yours? Feel free to give us a call today, 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Be back in a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. You become confused about how best to manage your health. It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, M.D. is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Right here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Friday version of the show in its purest sense of the word. Yes, it is a get 'em up, out of town version of the show where we ask you, if you get a mind to give us a call and find out, well, either question or comment, what's on that mind of yours. Get it off your mind, get it off your chest. It builds up pressure, and it's just not good to ride out the entire weekend with that pressure building up. We have a knock on the door. Come on in the store. Hello, and welcome aboard. What is on your mind?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm calling because I've heard you refer to undetected diabetes.
Yes, I call. Yeah. Came up with a term, and it just sort of came upon me where I said I had to make a decision about looking at blood work that I was receiving on all of my patients. Of course, every one of the doctors out there does a fasting set of blood work where they get a fasting glucose level, right? You probably have one in your history too. Would that be correct? Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And of course, there is this level, they say 100 or below would be indicative of someone who would not be a diabetic. And by the way, as that moves down into the lower 90s and 80s, that it becomes more conclusive that more than likely diabetes is not present. However, there's a problem with that lab, and that problem is that lab, which is taken in a fasting state, is just a snapshot of a moment in time telling us on that day, at that hour, based on the meals you had the night before, that blood sugar is absolutely normal. Now, I followed this just like all of my colleagues follow it, and just like your doctors have followed it for you. However, there is one other blood test. It will never get ordered, or at least is so rarely ordered, in a non-diabetic. So to say, you were not going to find it done by your doctor, I think I can say safely. And it's called a hemoglobin A1C. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
All right. HbA1c is the blood test that we had to literally invent because of our diabetic populations. What I mean by that is the diabetic, I say this with all due respect to them, are very manipulative.
Oh.
They really live it up and party and can. I'll say all of them, but they remembered in the old days when all we had was a fasting blood sugar that if they came into their doctor's office having behaved for the previous 48 hours, that their blood sugar would be as low as it possibly could be, and the doctor was snookered into thinking, what a wonderful job you're doing. Keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the hemoglobin A1C has, which we had to invent, actually takes it out of the hands of the honor system and literally gives us a assessment of your blood sugar 24 hours a day for the preceding 90 days. Now, that's a powerful lab, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
Well, it's only ordered in a known diabetic. And so when I start getting hemoglobin A1Cs, and by the way, I get them on every single patient who comes in here, what I found was a new individual emerged. And I think that's the individual you're referring to. Because I find that there are a whole slew of people who have absolutely normal fasting blood sugars, but completely abnormal hemoglobin A1C, which means that taking a blood sugar in someone in the morning who has not eaten just means that the homeostatic mechanisms in that individual overnight while sleeping brought the blood sugar into normal ranges by the time they emerge from sleep the next day. However, from the moment they start eating that day, all through that entire day, well into the evening, their blood sugars have to be off the wall in elevation because the hemoglobin A1C reflects quite a bit of derangement with a normal fasting blood sugar. Now, in detecting this over and over and over again, couldn't ignore it anymore, and I came up with a term, maybe not a completely, socially acceptable term, but I call it a closet diabetic. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Closet diabetic. To me, a closet diabetic is a person who's got that normal fasting blood sugar, but has a very much deranged hemoglobin A1C. Now, no one ever takes blood sugars on anybody at 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the evening. They only do fasting blood work. They tell a patient, come on in, don't eat. No, they're never taking the blood test any other time of the day. And so this person who is teetering on the border of becoming a full-blown diabetic ultimately will become one if they're not tipped off to the fact that they have a severe carbohydrate problem. And when I have patients that I say, okay, now with this blood work, you actually could be pronounced a diabetic, but it's not fair to call you one just yet. You need to take control of your diet to make certain that you don't step over that line and go from a person that has the last vestige of normalcy, meaning that fasting blood sugar finally turned abnormal, in which case the doctors would be able to pick it up. They, as we find out now, actually could have known many, many months to years beforehand, but they missed an opportunity by not ordering hemoglobin A1C. So, you got two options here. If you're a smooth talker, you can maybe, and I say maybe, talk your doctor into ordering a hemoglobin A1C. When confronted with a normal fasting blood sugar, I think that's a tough sell to most doctors. They're very reluctant to allow a patient to sort of dictate to them what they feel is their duly administered right to determine what lab testing you require, and if they would have felt you needed it, they would have ordered it anyway. You know, they take it personal, you understand?
Right.
Or you can come and have us work you up because it's standard blood work in this office.
Now, would these patients have symptoms that are different from a normal diabetic? Would they be underweight?
Actually, you can't use weight as a measure. However, I would expect that type 2 diabetes, which this is the hallmark sign of, would actually be overweight, higher in weight than they should be. But I don't ever look at weight at all in making...
Some of the things that I've read, Dr. Courtney, talk about someone being underweight and frequency in urination, that the glucose is being taken out of the blood.
Well, there are the 3 Ps, the polydipsia, polyuria, and polyphagia. By the way, these are signs of full-blown diabetes, okay? Polydipsia means thirst, a lot of thirst, okay? Drinking a lot of fluid. Polyuria means you urinate a lot. And polyphagia means you eat a lot. And then the final, and I have to say this in Spanish, because in Spanish there are 4 Ps, and the last one is pérdida de peso, which means weight loss, okay? But this is in full-blown diabetes. So the 4 Ps, taking that weight loss in another language, the 4 Ps are the hallmark signs of a full-blown diabetic of the type 1 type, really, not type 2 necessarily. So
now, how's that treated with insulin?
Well, if you have type 2 diabetes, and let's just take the three categories. What if you are a closet diabetic? Well, hey, we're lucky enough to catch this now where diet alone for sure can prevent this from moving to that line you never wanted to cross. So that's strictly diet. The type 2 diabetic that will ensue, if that isn't honored and corrected, will lead to a person that still should be able to have nutrition, handle this to the point where they shouldn't even need oral medicines, okay? But once you've crossed the line, and you can cross the line from type 2 to type 1, there's going to be combinations of oral and or intravenous interplayed between the both of them that are going to be required to bring that sugar intact. So I'm guessing right now, if you're thinking about yourself, you've got this normal blood sugar, but you don't know what your hemoglobin A1C is. It's nice to be able to tell a patient, by the way, you know, the hemoglobin A1C is solidly in the normal range. You do not have carbohydrate issues at all. It's nice to be able to tell a patient that. Or to tell them, you do have carbohydrate issues. It's being manifested in an elevated hemoglobin A1C. This is the time to catch it. This is the time to change that diet so as to not allow you to progress and cross the line you never do want to cross. So the outgrowth of that is this term I don't think any of my medical colleagues would even understand right now, called a closet diabetic. I come to find it happening a lot with this routine blood work that we do. So one way or another, man, get that blood test done. Come on here. It'll be done as a standard. It's done on everyone. Or if you feel like you're a real smooth talker, ma'am.
Oh, I could be.
Okay. You
I'll
think
give it a try.
Would you be so kind as to call us back and tell us how that went? I often say I like to be a fly on the wall when these conversations take place. You're laughing. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, this could turn sour real fast. But hey, you're the patient. Sometimes my patients end up enlightening, and very much enlightening their doctors, and the doctor oftentimes really just works with you and helps you both together come up with a plan that you're both happy with. I hope that happens to you. If not, don't anger him. Just come on in and we'll do it here, okay?
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Okay. The closet diabetic emerges again. Okay. Let's do this. I got a thing to get off my chest. That seems to be problems surfacing on thyroid. A new push to develop new lab tests, and I had to investigate it. I want to share with you, by the way, you might as well get a pencil and paper right now if you're dealing with your own doctor, the thyroid workup. The blood work involved. The blood work, I say, really can't tell you whether you're a thyroid patient or not, but once in play, there's certain blood tests that just must get done. We'll talk about them in a moment. Be right back on the thyroid workup when we return.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Through the Spirit. The blessings of Through the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Through the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Through the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Through the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. You become confused about how best to manage your health. It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, M.D. is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health, heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. We're here on a Friday version of the show. It is a get 'em up out of town version of the show where you can take over at any time you want, giving us a call at 412-825-6262. I'd get that done quite nicely. Form of a question or a comment, anything is okay with me. We got another knock on the door. Come on, the store. Hello and welcome aboard. What's on your mind?
Yes, good morning, Doc.
Hi.
I had a laugh when you said about doctors don't like to be told what to do. I kind of kid with myself. When I was a younger man, I used to argue with doctors about giving me Valium.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe it was the drugs. Now I got to argue with them about getting vitamin C or peroxide.
That is quite an argument on your conventional doctor. You might have won the Valium argument. I don't think you're going to win the vitamin C argument. Just my little perspective, but take it for what it's worth. What's on your mind today?
Well, ever since I heard you and Dr. Condra talking about the TMAO testing.
TMAO, trimethylamine oxide.
A little bit about it. Let me give you my preface. And so I've seen it was related to choline, beta-tine. Well, there's people like me who take a lot of lecithin, phosphatidylcholine, beta-tine hydrochloride. So what's the latest news on that? And I'm thinking about requesting that test. And so is that something I need to be concerned about, or is it really not related to dairy?
Of course, this is a test, I'm told, because I've never been familiarized with TMAO until I was introduced to it in the month of August. I'm told that in the history of laboratory analysis, TMAO was a test that was commonly done a number of years ago. It was done in all hospitals. It's now no longer done in any of them. It is only done in one laboratory in Denver, Colorado, and it is no longer, trying to get it in this form, but it is no longer a blood test. It's a urine test. By the way, pretty expensive urine test. I think it's like a $300 urine test, okay? Now, it turns out that it was work done at the Cleveland Clinic. You know, when Cleveland Clinic speaks, everybody listens. It's sort of one of those deals like you see with the insurance company there on TV. And when the groups up there at Cleveland Clinic do their research, they publish, and man, this is a shot heard around the world. Well, recent work done by them indicated the presence of this chemical found in the bloodstream of individuals that is extremely caustic to the lining of arteries. And it is believed to be, I do 9 different blood tests, and I consider them to be the best ways of determining what inflammation factors may be going on in a person's bloodstream. But when I'm told by people I respect that this one, TMAO, may actually be the most abrasive, most caustic of all of them, I take up and I listen. My ears are all perked up. So, yes, I think TMAO is a good place to go, especially in individuals who find that they have corrected all of their other risk factors, and now they want to get to work to see if they have this particular one. Then subject yourself to the urine testing, which we do here, absolutely do it. Send it off to Denver and we can find out. Now, what if it comes back positive? Because if it does, it isn't generated by your own bloodstream. No, any one of the other lab tests, it's a CRP, if it's a lipoprotein(a), if it's homocysteine, if it's cholesterol, if it's triglyceride, these are all generated from your own biochemistry. TMAO, trimethylamine oxide, is not. It's generated by abnormal bacteria flora. And so if it's found to be elevated, there's nothing you can do in your constitution to correct the factors like you would with any of the other 9. If this one's out of order, the effort is to completely cleanse and remove the old bacterial flora and put down a new layer in the probiotic form, obviously, of healthy bacterial flora, and the TMAO will go away. You wouldn't know any of this without being tipped off by that urine test that you had the issue at all. And if you did have the issue, it would be one that would be bypassing any other scrutiny. No matter what blood test you got, you could have completely normal blood results with all the other 9, and this would turn out to be your nemesis, your Achilles heel. So,
what have you found in some of your patients? Have you found any abnormals?
We have done very...
If it was related to eating pierogies, would all be gone.
Well, it's not necessarily related to eating pierogies. It's eating the pierogi that passes through the colon that has this abnormal bacterial flora, which leads to the production of TMAO, and because it gains access into the bloodstream, once in the bloodstream, the problems to resolve. In the few
your patients found, have you found any?
When we have done this test, and we have only done it on very few patients have asked for this test, okay?
How'd they come back?
And they came back in the normal range in all cases up till now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you that we've had a person where we actually have to go ahead and take down the old flora and put in the new. I will tell you that I know enough about it that the takedown process wouldn't be a mystery, right? We're going to do cleanses and we're going to do things that help purge the old flora, but the new flora, we do know that the kind of organism that has to be plentiful, and the organism that has to be in this particular new flora is L. paracensis. That's just one of the bacteria that is not found in all probiotics, and it would be necessary. One of the good things to do, even without having a test, would be to make certain if you do probiotics, that you're doing them with a high quantity of L. paracensis included in that probiotic, and you should be able to read on any label what is contained within the probiotic, and it's not found in many of them, so make sure you're a good label reader.
So doctor's data or none of these other labs are doing any of that?
None of them doing it as of right now. I think what you'll find out is, because this is a recent article, I'm bringing you the most recent stuff. This is hot off the press. It's really hot. And it takes so long for the conventional medical community to respond. It doesn't take that long for the alternative community to respond. So I think you're right. A doctor's data or a Great Smoky Mountains lab will be the first to pick up on this. They'll make this cost effective so that it doesn't cost $300, and it'll be available on a routine workup just like the things they do nowadays. But it's so new, they don't have it yet. And there's that one lab in Denver that does. But it was a query to you. You picked up on it. I hope I've filled in some of the problem areas, the gray zones, and illuminated this to be a little clearer in your own mind.
Did you get the test done on yourself?
I have not. No, I have not.
All right, thanks, Doc.
Okay, absolutely. TMAO, you can say you heard it here. It absolutely was hot off the press at the time. Okay. What you've also heard here is over the course of many, many years, there's been a strong affection for the treating of thyroid disease. It is something that, it's just replete. It is everywhere. It's all around you because, you're smack dab in the middle of this thing called the goiter belt, and especially women are going to be predisposed to having thyroid issues. By now, you should well know that the only way, and I'm going to underline it once again, to make that assessment as to whether you're a thyroid patient or not has nothing at all to do with blood testing. It happens to do with the symptoms, which there are many of, and your basal body temperature. But every so often, and one came by my desk actually yesterday, and when things happen, it triggers me into thinking about it, on how you should be taking your lab test in order to let the lab test make the diagnosis. Now, there was an interesting point made, and I'm going to bring it to your attention when I have a moment here. We do have a caller, and I'm going to have it come in a moment, but nothing has changed. Don't let lab tests make the decision for you and your doctor. Go with what you feel, which is pretty doggone lousy, ladies, and that basal body temperature. Remember the threshold below 97.8. There's no 98.6 when it comes to basal temperatures. The lowest threshold is 97.8. I'll come back to it in a moment. We do have a knock on the door. Come on in the store. Hello, and welcome aboard. What is on your mind?
Good morning, Dr. Courtney.
Yes.
I wanted to run two things by you. Regarding the woman with the hemoglobin A1C
Yes.
kind of testing.
Mm-hmm.
There is also, I guess, a different approach. There's a different type of endocrinologist. I believe he's somewhere in the Mount Lebanon area, and he comes at it from a different approach. Now, I haven't been to see him yet. I had to rustle through my drawer of little notes I have.
That's a heck of a drawer.
Oh, yeah. And this was given to me, I don't know, some years ago, because the back of the thing is 2007. But there's an endocrinologist who, when you go there, you have to be there for 6 hours. And what he does is every hour on the hour, he'll take your insulin level.
Insulin level?
Where it's at every hour on the hour. And at certain times you don't eat, certain times you do eat during those 6 hours that you're in his office. And from there, I guess, he really can get a picture of where you are at regarding type 2, because type 1, you hardly produce any insulin.
Exactly right.
This is more geared towards the type 2, and maybe like what you're speaking of, the hidden diabetic.
Yeah. I think you stumbled on that. I think it's absolutely correct. It's nice to know. By the way, I think that I'm familiar with a very well-known endocrinologist in the Mount Lebanon area. I frequently refer to his name as Dr. Karana. Does that happen to be the name?
Yeah, Ramesh Karana.
All right, there you go. Okay, okay. So funny how if you're a cut above the others, it seems to become known out there by my listeners. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't realize that he does interval insulin testing to find out with the load, meaning did you take a carbohydrate load or didn't you? He's assessing. He's so far ahead of the game because what he's doing is assessing your predisposition to becoming a diabetic. So he's jumped way in front of the line if he's doing the testing that way. By using hemoglobin A1C and the fasting sugar, we already have arrived. Okay, if you've got a derangement in your hemoglobin A1C, and especially if you have a derangement in your fasting, you have crossed the line by certainly that fasting part, and you're approaching that line if you're the closet diabetic part. But early on, the earliest possible detection where you really could do something about it would be the earliest stages when elevations of insulin just are beginning, way before the hemoglobin A1C turns sour, and certainly way before the fasting blood sugar goes off. So I tip my hat off to Dr. Karana and say, hey, he is definitely a cut above. If he's that far ahead of the curve that he wants to determine the pre-diabetic, the one that has the ability to have a derangement in the future, way into the future, I might add, might be 5 or 10 years into the future. So I just think, great, I'm glad to hear he's doing that there, and as I have referred to him in the past, I'll continue to do so in the future, and maybe I'll give him a call. I'd love to bring him on. I'd love to bring him on the show and have him talk about it. Wouldn't you?
Yeah,
like to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Because I remember when I called, the secretary had given me the information about being there 6 hours, and I'm like, wow. But I guess that's the way they kind of do. And another thing I wanted to run by you, I know me as a type 1 diabetic, my blood sugars are higher in the morning after fasting. You can believe that. And I've read a little bit where when you're a type 1 for, I guess, much maturation, after a few years of having the progression of the disease, it's weird. Your hormones during the night affect your blood sugars. And actually with me, right now, at my stage right now, my blood sugars are higher in the morning after 12 hours of fasting than they are during the day.
Do you take, just for the heck of it, do you take a long-acting?
No, I used to be on Lantus, and I didn't really do well. So I'm back to the archaic insulin.
Well, by archaic, you mean the fast-acting, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely, when you take a blood sugar, you treat that blood sugar like right now, and the peak effects that you're going to achieve by taking that, you call it archaic, huh? Archaic.
Well, I'm back. I'm not even at the fast-acting. I'm back to NNR.
Okay.
I'm even before Lantus. I'm even before the 70/30. I'm before, yeah.
Well, I would just say if you have elevations of because see, during sleep, you can't be checking your blood sugar anymore, and what you would find, I'm just passing this on to you, is that a combination of your archaic, very fast-acting forms of insulin combined with something like Levemir, a 24-hour acting, will be how you conquer the issue of what to do during sleep. See, you're not eating during sleep, but the reverberations from what was able to be handled by the last time you took insulin, that ceases during sleep. And so you need something that helps out.
Yeah, that's what the Lantus was doing.
And that is what Lantus would do.
Yeah, I was on Lantus and Humalog, and the Humalog was giving me horrific reactions, I guess because it was reacting too quickly.
Yeah, that one is a faster acting. There's a new one out I'm familiar with called Levemir. That's one of the more recent entrants into the market. I just suggest that. Please consider it. Because when the morning sugars are higher than they are at any other time, while you're controlling them, and see, you're actually controlling the blood sugars throughout the day based on what you eat, and then how you counteract that and anticipate that with the dose that you take. But during sleep, all bets are off. You need some help during sleep, and that's where the 24-hour acting forms will be quite a bit of help to you. I hope that little tip passing on to you. Scrutinize that a bit. Put that in the drawer, let it joggle around with that drawer with all those pieces of paper in it, and then pull it out and get forward again. Did you have a second question?
Actually, I did. This is totally separate. Something on the news yesterday was talking about cancer treatment. And
okay.
I guess this guy in the oil industry, he's an engineer by trade, and he found out, because I guess normal chemotherapies kind of injure the healthy tissues as well as the cancerous tumors.
Right.
He found out that by putting that same chemotherapy into a molecule of sugar, it goes directly into the bloodstream and won't indirectly go into healthy tissues and damage the healthy tissue. Now, by putting it into a sugar molecule, doesn't sugar feed cancer?
Well, actually, if you think about that just a moment, there is a well-known approach to treating cancer called IPT. Did you ever hear insulin potentiation therapy? Ever heard of
Yeah.
it? Okay. Well, the concept you just raised is exactly what gets done in IPT. They first give insulin literally to drop the blood sugar so low that you actually are to the point of unconsciousness. That's how low they drop it. Then they give a chemo with a sugar, because when the metabolic rates of all the healthy cells are lowered, the metabolic rate of the tumor cells remain unchanged. They're not affected by the insulin one bit. They're abnormal cells, they're cancerous cells, they have no controls on them whatsoever. So by knowing that, a whole entire approach to treating cancer has developed whereby lowered the total blood sugar level first. Get all of the normal cells just literally on idle. Patient is incoherent. Has to be observed quite closely, you might not understand. But then give chemo along with sugar. And obviously, the only thing that gobble up the sugar in that situation would be the cancer. So you see, the sugar finds the cancer, or the cancer finds the sugar, however you want to put it, and then the chemotherapy rides into the tumor alone on the back of the sugar. Makes sense, huh?
It goes directly to it.
Goes directly and only to the sugar. It's sort of, we refer to it as a smart bomb approach to treating cancer, and there are places throughout the country that do something called IPT, and where they have varying degrees of success, but you can see theoretically what the concept was behind it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thanks, doctor.
All right, hit that drawer some other time and give us a call, okay? What a drawer she must have, folks. All right. Number 412-825-6262. If you got a question, pulling this thing together with that little blurb that came across me yesterday on thyroid, I get upset when I see that a new wrinkle develops, putting the faith behind lab testing. This thing came to me by one of my patients who literally brought it to me, talking about the ratio, a new blood test. Is the ratio of T3 to something called reverse T3. Now, I don't want to boggle your mind with medical jargon that really is not really necessary, except to say this. No lab tests should be used to circumvent good common sense. If you have a set of symptoms, if you have fatigue, constipation, depression, mood swings, infertility, the list goes on and on, brain fog, and each and every one of the patients that I happen to come across have degrees of all those, all going on at the time. Who would ever need a lab test to even start to think that a thyroid may be in play, and then get that basal body temperature? And that will conclusively prove, by virtue of the true testing of taking your temperature upon arising in the morning and before those feet swing out of the bed and hit the floor, I'm interested in your basal temperature at that time. Basal meaning the lowest temperature that you're going to be at for the entire day occurs as you emerge from sleep. But even at that emerging temperature, the lamp has to be lit. The engine has to be on idle. And if it's not idling properly, and it's only thyroid hormone that determines how your engine not only is going to idle, but it's also going to determine how well your engine revs up. But at this stage, at basal conditions, your temperature should be, to be normal, between 97.8 and 98.2. And to be off a tenth or two is significant. So, the walking around 98.6 temperature is not the way you assess basal conditions. It is through taking a shakedown thermometer or those digital thermometers, however you want to do it, and determining what the basal body temperature is. If it's below 97.8, Houston, we have a problem, and we have to do something about it. So, I'm just, for those of you who got your pencil and paper, once the diagnosis is made, there are 7 blood tests that need to be ordered. They don't need to be ordered beforehand. They need to be taken afterhand to make better assessments as to how you're going to correct. Now, the standard 3 blood tests, you already know about, because your doctor gets them all the time. It's something called T3, T4, and TSH, and they're well known to literally eliminate 90% of you from even being able to be diagnosed as a thyroid patient, because they're always found in these normal ranges. If they're out of the normal ranges, you're really a sick person. If you're that deranged that your blood tests actually can reflect it. Now, the 4 tests that don't get done, that need and are routinely done here on all patients, but they don't get done, that you need to ask your doctor to order for you, would be the 3 antibody tests, because your immune system can go ahead and attack your thyroid gland, and if that is happening, needs to be known so as to be able to be corrected. And it can be corrected, by the way. They are perioxidase antibodies. Number 2, anti-thyroid antibodies. And number 3, microsomal antibodies. So now the list is up to 6. T3, T4, TSH. The 3 antibodies, perioxidase, anti-thyroid, and microsomal. Then the final test, the 7 test. The newest kid on the block. Only about 6 to 8 years now has this test been available. It's called reverse T3. This was the lab that was mentioned in the little blurb article that I was presented with yesterday. It is true that if there's a high level of reverse T3, it does connote a problem, but you could have normal numbers of all the other 7. If this number is out of whack, it says you've got to set a brakes on, folks. It has to be accelerated. You have to increase the dose of the thyroid hormone significantly, I find it to be a necessary part in my treatment plan. When I know that reverse T3 is elevated, I know that the dose of thyroid hormone that I'm going to require is going to also be accelerated in order to bypass the braking effect of reverse T3. So, once again, don't utilize labs to make a diagnosis ever. Only use the labs to make corrections and assessments of your treatment plan. As to whether you treat or not, however, it comes down to the two basics. What are the symptoms? And what's the basal body temperature? By the way, I'll throw in another that it goes hand in hand with the basal body temperature. Your basal pulse rates, something you can easily take, are also extremely important because we're going to follow that once we treat anyway. And when you find your basal pulses in the low 60s, sometimes into the 50s, just add that to the list as part and parcel to a problem with thyroid hormone being inadequate in order to stimulate other metabolic activity in the human body. Logos on the background. It's time to get out of here. It's 11/11/11. It happens once every 100 years. All the weddings for this weekend, I hope, prosper under the millennium sign of 11/11/11. Until Monday, Dr. Dennis Courtney now, saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group.